Hey, beautiful people. It's been a while, hasn't it? So let's just jump right into the episode. Today's episode is Steven Floats. Steven and the Crystal Gems return home after defeating the cluster. Steven goes to the Big Donut for a celebratory Big Donut. When Steven arrives at the Big Donut, he finds Sadie, who's locking up for the night. She explains that they now make the donuts fresh in the store, which kind of makes me question just how fresh the donuts were before, and promises Steven the first donut of the day if he comes tomorrow morning. Excited about his special donut, Steven jumps into the air and doesn't come down. He now has the ability to float, but he doesn't know how to descend or fall. The Crystal Gems try helping him back to Earth, but their efforts are all for naught, so they spend the night comforting Steven, who's still stuck in the air. Steven realizes he's now late for the Big Donut, and he gets sad, which makes him start to descend. Like all of his powers, Steven's powers are affected by his emotions. When Steven finally gets to the Big Donut, it turns out he's not late. The store opens an hour later on that day. Womp womp. End of episode. That is essentially Steven Floats. Let's talk about what I thought about it. It is a relatively nice, safe, fun, lighthearted episode to kind of start off a new arc. We just kind of tied up everything except for a small few handful of concepts from the Barn Saga. So, we took care of the cluster, we took care of Malachite, we know where everyone is except for Jasper. So for the most part, everything's been kind of wrapped up from the previous plot lines except for some of the Season 1 early stuff, but all of Season 2 is taken care of. So it's probably time for a slew of slice of life, simple episodes, very similar to Season 1. This could have easily have been a Season 1 episode if it wasn't for the fact they mentioned Lapis and the fact that they just came back. But otherwise, it's straight up just slice of life, fun, no real complicated. However, it is a episode that involves Steven growing as a person because he gained a new ability, which is pretty awesome. And I really like the fact that Steven learned how to activate his powers on his own. And within the same episode. This was relatively quick. Before, it took a whole seasonal arc for Steven to learn how to use his shield and how to use a lot of his abilities. He never really got the ability that episode and then was able to use it frequently. And now he found the ability and now he mastered it within, 12 hours, which is pretty awesome. So it really shows that Steven's getting a lot better at what he's doing. In fact, there were some of the spoilers for Drop Beat Dad, which airs the same day as this. I'm recording this a little early because the episode aired in France. But, in that episode, in one of the spoilers, we see that Steven's picking up a box, and then another character picks it up, and they're struggling with it, but Steven was picking it up with one hand. So, it does show that Steven is growing, and he's getting stronger, which is just awesome, and it's really subtle. It's not one of those things where, it's not Pearl walking him going, "Oh, Steven, you're getting stronger! Oh, boy!" Which, great Pearl impression on my part. I know, you know what? Comment section, just go for it. Let me know, Give me all the praise. But yeah, it's not like they're overhandedly showing it. They're just doing these subtle little things, and it's awesome. I like the fact that they mentioned Lapis, but at the exact same time, I think a lot of people were like, why don't they just get Lapis to bring her and help him come down since she can fly? Amethyst makes a joke about it, and it's kind of funny and kind of cute. Which, by the way, in the guidebook for the Crystal Gems, they mentioned that Opal's really forgetful and kind of ditzy. And it's clearly Amethyst's side of that fusion that got it. Because she's just like, oh, Steven can fly. Yeah, I remember that. No, wait, that's Lapis. Little funny joke there. Why not bring Lapis into the situation? Well, honestly, Lapis really wouldn't have done much. Because if you notice, they put a bunch of heavy stuff on Steven and he still can't budge. So I guess having a flyer come and try to drag him probably wouldn't work out anyways. So Lapis wasn't necessarily needed. What's very interesting is the show kind of benched Lapis and Peridot, which we've seen in the previews that they're coming back. They're just going to be used in episodes that are written around them, not so much that they just kind of occasionally plop in. I think that's probably a cost on voice actors, because if they did expand the cast, that becomes a more cost. It's not cost effective to have a huge ensemble animated cast unless you have a lot of voice actors that are duplicating voices. However, this reminds me a lot of Adventures of Gummy Bears, which no one gives a shit but me, but I love Adventures of Gummy Bears. They added a Sixth Ranger character, which was Gusto Gummy, and he's my favorite, but he was only added and then he lives separately from the rest of the gummy bears. Like he lives underneath a waterfall while the other bears live in a tree, and he only comes in when the plot dictates that he should be coming in. So I find that very interesting, that the Steven Universe is kind of doing a similar thing. It happens a lot in TV shows when they add a new character. You still have some of the old dynamics in there, but occasionally you want to add them in. Think of it as Six Ranger. It's a Power Ranger term. You know, the Green Ranger came in, and now everyone cared about that. I think a lot of people are really excited about Peridot. I think we've had enough Peridot. She's been such a heavy focus recently that I think more people are probably upset with the fact that we're not learning more about Lapis, who has a completely different personality than I think most of us were expecting. It's weird talking about this episode. There's really not a lot to talk about said episode. Like I said, it's really light, fluffy, nice. It's a great breather from so much tension. Granted, I mean, I guess the baseball episode wasn't super tension, but it's a huge contrast because before, so far of season, quote unquote, season 3 or half of season 2, redubbed season 3, so far all the episodes have been super connected. Like the episode ends and then the next episode begins at that same point. This is the first one where we actually have like a distance of time, and it's separate from everything, which is super refreshing after having it. The only thing I could really talk about here is that I want to praise Steven Universe one more time for having it to where Steven is aware that he has complicated feelings for his mom. This is a show that does a really good job of being character focused, and I love the fact that the characters' dynamics between each other is such a heavy play within the show. Like, it could have been really easy for it to just kind of have one-dimensional versions, oh, Amethyst doesn't like so-and-so, Pearl doesn't like this person, but, there's clearly a give and take, push and pull. Some days Pearl can tolerate Greg, other episodes she can't. In this one, Steven has really complicated feelings towards his dead mother, and they don't sugarcoat it, and they don't pretend that those don't exist. He knows that some of the Crystal Gems have some form of resentment for him for being kind of the product of their friend being gone. There's a lot of weight to that, and having that joke real quickly, oh no, my mom, those feelings are complicated. I love that they don't hide it and they just put it out there, which, not a lot of shows treat their audiences with as much respect and as much, like, they take they don't hide it. They just like, okay, these kids are going to get it. If they don't get it now, they'll get it later. But that's awesome. But that's really all I have to say about Steven Floats. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, leave a comment down below. Say something cool. I don't know. And I will be back with Drop Dead Dad. Drop Dead Dad. Drop Dead Fred. We're going to do a review of Drop Dead Fred. No, Drop Beat Dad. See you guys soon.